Here we go then, it is the Moneyball summer transfer window and it's coming up next. Welcome back everybody, here we go then, I'm excited for this. I'm also dreading it because there's going to be a lot of transfers going through in this period. So the big thing I wanted to look at was the stats first between us and PSG. So I don't know if we're actually going to use the spreadsheet for this season because I think it's really just a two-team race. Like Ren caught up to me a little bit towards the end, but that's because I started to rotate players anyway. So in any case, we shouldn't be looking behind us. We're looking ahead. We're looking at PSG. We've got 89 points, which is a pretty good points total for a 34-game season as opposed to the Premier League's 38. So let's have a look. 14 goals conceded, pretty good as well. So I think the best thing to do is for us to take me a screenshot of the PSG team, and then we can put it somewhere in the screen where it doesn't take up too much space. I'm looking maybe down the bottom. Will be really big enough for you to see it, though. Okay, it's actually going to be easier to do it the other way around because by just selecting the players, I can get them in the order I want. So if I want to compare the centre-backs, I can pick the exact centre-backs. Problem with doing it in like just by this is it may put some players in certain positions for PSG that I don't want in the list still. So we'll do it the other way around. So give me a second here. We'll go and look at our players compared to theirs. Now this might look a little confusing, but the bit at the top is my own players there. So if we go now to PSG, they're going to stay there. That's a good way of doing it, I think, for us. Just to keep it on the same screen. Obviously, I could do it off camera, but I wanted you to see it with me. That was the whole point of me doing this, right? So at least you can see it with me here. What size is that? Right, so now to make it easier for your viewing pleasure, I can highlight their centre-backs for you. So there we go. We're going to compare our three players here that are highlighted compared to our own players. So let's start off with tackle-1 ratio. So they have got 70, 78, 71. We've got 78, 84, 68. So only Rakici's less than them. The other two are actually higher, which is interesting. Let's look at interceptions per 90. So they've got a 2.06, which is 3.63. And then we've got 3.56, 2.58. So Gila's a little low on that. So in both those two categories so far, generally we've done okay compared to them. But there's always been one player that's significantly less, whereas theirs are a bit more consistent, maybe. So it could be, let's continue on and look at possessions 1 per 90, 23.12. Is anybody that high for us? Yeah, there is. Like, that's close across the board there. What I'm determining from this is the problem is not the defending. In terms of centre-back, sorry, is what I mean. They've got a centre-back with 10 sprints per night. Marquinhos played CDM a lot, though. So header 1 ratio is 62% Kimpembe, Rikichi was 62, Badiashile and Gila both higher than that. I tell you what, early doors looking at this, I'm not too sure what's been going wrong for us. Progressive passes per 90. We don't have anybody with an 8, but he played CDM a lot. I don't see too much of a difference. I'm just looking at all of it here. Blocks per 90. I could probably do with making the name slightly more in line so I get the stats more in line. But yeah, I'm not convinced by. But I got key tackles per 90. I don't know. There isn't too much difference here. Like, I'm talking about that, especially when you factor in the value and the wages. Like, they've got 2 players on $250,000 a week, which we don't. We've got players on 33, 19, and 16 grand a week. So, okay, well. First thing is then, centre-backs are not the problem on their own at least, so let's move on to wing-backs, see if there's a difference there. I think there might be a bit of a difference here, but let's find out together. Okay, so we only really had 2 starting-level wing-backs in terms of Osei, Samuel and Merlin. I did play Rikichi then, other players, but they played fullback as well as multiple other positions, whereas these 2 played fullback across the season. So we're going to compare them as the PSG, really. PSG had Mendes and Hakimi. Nobody really else played fullback for them, as you can see by the starts they had. Hakimi played more than Mendes, but it's still pretty close to being all season long, more than our players anyway. So anyway, let's have a look at the, let's change a little view quickly. So dribbles per 90 first we're looking at, so it's 3.92 for Hakimi, 3.67 for Mendes. Ours were 3 and 0.676. So the inverted fullback role on the left-hand side really hinders us when we're in those situations where teams are playing well against us, and we get that sort of second dribbler dribbling at them and creating problems. like PSG almost get to have like 2 extra wingers in possession, right? Because they pin them back, the wing backs attack the players, and their dribbling and pace, acceleration is good enough to be an effective wing almost in possession, right? So like Hakimi's a better player as a winger than almost every other player in the league is as an actual winger. He plays fullback for them. So, and obviously Mendes is pretty good as well. So that's part of the problem then. Do we switch to a role that goes to more wing back centric? But that's a problem, I think, looking at that. But cross completion, 19 and 16, ours are 35% and 16%. I mean, that does outweigh a little bit, doesn't it? Merlin's really good at whipping the ball in accurately. Sprints per 90, they've got 22 and 20. Sprints per 90 for us. Not showing, so hang on a second here. I need to read this again. So there's 22 per ball to 20. Our sprints per 90, 21 and 21. That's pretty close still. Open play key passes, 1 and 1.23. Ours are much higher. Open play key passes, 1.94, 1.95. Ours are 1 and 1.23. So we are significantly lower on open play key passes. Jaws per 90 across both sides were lower, and both players are pretty low on open play key passes. That's something interesting to note, to take note of when we go and look at this in a second to buy players. Progressive passes per 90. I mean, we're a little bit low on both, but like if you were to look at their lower one is 5.7, our lower one is 4.89, but our high one is 6.5, which is also lower than that, but higher than that. So there you are. Tackle ratio 71 and 82. Ours is 66 and 71. So you can see there that's really important for those 1v1 battles when they're left sort of isolated. You know, they've been hit on the counter. The defender's recovering. They're left in a 1v1, and they're able to get out of the situations on the regular with these players because they're quick. They're able to tackle. Our ones don't win those battles as often, obviously. Interceptions per 90, they have got 4.39 and 3.46. That's not too far from ours. Not going to worry too much about that. Possessions 1 per 90, 15s both for them, and 13s for us. So that's maybe an indicator. Header one ratio 50-49. Ours is 35-38. So across the boards, you would say generally they are better in almost every category, at least a little bit or by a lot. The only category they're not really ahead at all, in fact we're ahead, is cross completion. Apart from that, everything else goes to them. So that's really noteworthy, that is. So for the wing backs, we need to look for somebody who's got at least 3 dribbles per 90, open play key passes per 90 of, it doesn't have to be their level, it has to be above where we are at the very least. So we've got 1.0 to 1.23, so minimum 1.25. Let's go for that this season. Progressive passes per 90, I don't care about that one's fine. Tackle 1 ratio, we'll go minimum of 71. That's our highest player, their lowest. We'll go that as a minimum. And do you know what? Let's start right here. Let's do it now before we forget. Let's move on. So let's have a look at some wing backs then while we're looking at this now. Okay, so taking some of these isolated stats, we have got 3 players. And there's a problem with all 3 of them. The first one is he's too expensive and doesn't really... We can't justify the money for that, really. Dimitri Folker has got quite a low number of starts, which doesn't really help us, and he's 34, which isn't great. And then the younger lad is 18, but in a much lower league, and he had 2 sub-appearances in total. So we can look to drop some of these right now to see what we can get. Let's drop this to 14. That's given us 1 player here who's... I mean, Vinicius is a little expensive. How expensive is he going to be? I mean, potentially we could go with this because he's scored the ones we're looking for. Looks pretty good across the board there. So I'm going to shortlist him early doors. In fact, let me just make sure before I forget them out of the way here. Let's drop dribbles per 90 down to 2 because it could be down to roll, right? The dribbles per 90 in particular. Of all the stats for wing back, this one can be messed up the most from the roll. Like, you could see there that our left back compared to our right back is a big difference in dribbles per 90, which is potentially to do with the players, but it's definitely to do with the role. So we'll keep looking through as it currently is like this. Okay, so Christian Pastina has got the right kind of stats for the left back role. He's a little low on dribbles per 90. I think he's more of a centre back based on the fact that he plays centre back. He's 6'1". That seems more natural to him. However, I thought, okay, broken leg, let's just move on, pretend that never happened. Okay, so Aguilera in the Danish league has got dribbles per 90 of 2.40, which is good. Open play key pass of 1.26 above our threshold, which is nice. Tackle ratio 82%, and he's good in the air with a 61% header one ratio. That looks like a pretty good, solid, safe, cheap option, which is about what we can do in the Moneyball system, especially the wages we've got to spend of this year. I've also put this guy on the short list. The reason I've not plugged to any movement to try and get him is that he's in quite a low level of football, so not sure what the stats can tell us, but if the stats are anything to go by, I mean, he's really good. I just don't know if he's really a defender because he plays so many different positions, but we're going to track him for a while. He might never get signed, to be honest. So, Sousa, we do have obviously the left back. I do like Sousa. The only reason I loaned him out was because I couldn't figure a way to keep him in the squad as a non-EU player. But if we get rid of a non-EU player, I could just keep Sousa at left back. So that might do us at left back anyway. It might be that if Merlin leaves, we need a backup for Sousa. But for now, I'm looking only at right-hand side for fullbacks and mainly I'm looking for mainly EU-based players to stop us having to waste a slot on that if we can avoid it, of course. Okay, Miguel Gutierrez, as I'm now in the way here. Miguel Gutierrez looks really good, and what's funny is I've kept the image there, so you can see him being compared to our previous years. So if you look at Miguel Gutierrez, comparing him to Quinton Merlin, for example, here, they've got the same view on it, they do. Dribbles per 90, 2.64, again, different roles, so let's factor that. And in fact, let's ignore that one then. Let's go straight to open by key passes per 90. He's slightly ahead on that because he's inverted full back. So that you can see how the role sort of slightly affects it. Progressive passes per 90, because Merlin's ahead. Tackle 1 ratio, Gutierrez is massively ahead on that. Possessions 1 per 90, slightly lower. Head 1 ratio, he's massively ahead on that. But dribbles per 90, 0.76, 2.64. It'd be interesting to see how much higher he is on that after that's factored in, of course. And then like sprints per 90, slightly lower as well. But he looks good in the areas that we were looking at. He's better than Merlin in the air. He tackles more than Merlin, and he's better at dribbling at teams per 90. So the three of the most important things we looked at, he improves us on. He doesn't improve us on progressive passes or play key passes as much. So interesting. I think he's good enough though for us to have a little scouts, and we'll shortlist him and see how he comes back, but that could be a pretty good sign in here. Okay, after a long search, I actually think the very first player we looked at that I said was too expensive, I might have to just invest in, because I think wing-back is a really important position for us to improve, and if we have to spend 15-20 million on a wing-back, I think that's it. I think that's what we're going to have to do, because it's a really essential place for us to improve. It's a very big gap between our wing-backs and theirs, so I think that's what we do. And we go for the one that's at Monaco that I actually did look at earlier in the series. I don't know if it was on camera or not, but he did come up on our list a couple of years ago. Maybe it was that year. He did come up on the list though. So interesting. Monaco finished outside of all European places, so we could get him if we get the finances to do so. But yeah, there's also a couple of guys on the shortlist from last year. For the right back position, yeah, we had Stamsted, who looks like he could be okay, but there we are. Okay, let's move on to pivot players. Really, we're looking at one player only, because it's only really Crespo that played, so we'll compare Crespo to their pivot players, and maybe our attacking central field players as well to their central field players in the same go here. Okay, so they had Fabian as their main pivot player for quite a long time. He got injured, didn't he? Really bad injury towards the back end of the season. So we're looking at Fabian, Marquinhos, Fernandez and Reina here. So what should we look at first? Open play key passes. So Crespo, let's break this down into two sections, pivot players and tens. So let's compare, not even Reina for this. We'll compare the other three. In fact, Marquinhos, how many times you play centre back? Only 9. That's okay. That's good enough. He can still go down as a pivot player, I think, here. So compare these three. So open play key passes per 90. Crespo had 1.07. They've all got higher than that. Progressive passes per 90, 7.74. That's lower than all three of their players. Passes completed per 90, got 75, of 73 and a 69. He's on a 77. So he had more passes completed per 90 than the rest, which is good. But he's low on the other two main categories there. Dribbles per 90. He's on 0.73, which is sort of midway between all of them, which is, I suppose, is okay, isn't it? Tackle 1 ratio, he had 70. That's the lowest. Tackles, let's go interceptions per 90. He had 1.85. That's towards the top end of their players, actually. So where are they better than us then? Our header 1 ratio, he had 65%. That's also better than all of theirs. So open play key passes and progressive passes is where he's significantly below their players. Now, they've also got better players running off them. Like, how many times have they played a pass to Mbappe and has it become a key pass or open play key pass, right? So you've got to fight down a little bit, I suppose, but that's interesting. They also play with 2 pivots, not 1. So one of them is always going to be naturally slightly higher and more exposed to the final third of the pitch. there is that to factor in as well, of course. So let's have a quick look for somebody with these sort of stats here then, with pretty much what Crespo had, but exchanging those two for definite. Okay, so quite a few options here, actually, looking at this. So I'm going to move myself back up to the top. Okay, Marco Bertini, ignoring the fact that the scouts recommend him, don't care what they think. Well, I actually got there. I actually got 2.5 stars. I've got 3.5 stars potential ability. Okay, interesting. But looking at the fact he plays in the second tier, but he's got a pretty high average rating for the season. He had 7 point, I think it was 3.2, was it? Something like that he had. It was pretty high anyway. And, 7.14, there you go. And then he's got progressive passes per 90 of 5.21. That is very, very good, which is what we're looking for. But open play key passes per 90, 1.51, which is good. Create lots of chances as well. Draws per 90 is okay. Tackle ratio is good. Header 1 ratio as well is 52%. So, looking like a pretty good option. A solid local option that won't cost us too much money. So, we're going to shortlist him as our sort of safe option, I guess, for this. Okay, Nicholas Raskin is somebody who's already on my shortlist from last year, and he actually hits everything we're looking for except for header ratio. So that's a slight concern, but he looks pretty good, I've got to be honest, with most other things. Progressive pass is slightly low, but his open key passes per 90 is higher, which is sort of what we're looking for to get something a bit different from this position. But tackle ratio is 79, is really high, and Crespo is only 70, so that's a big difference. This is really tough to find somebody who's got good open play key passes per 90 and good progressive passes. Like, nobody's as high as Crespo for progressive passes, which is a problem. But it's like, you got to factor in, I think sometimes, would they be as high as Crespo if they were in our team playing our tactic with our players? And would they improve based on all their stats, I suppose? But in particular, the ones where I'm saying they're not as good as Crespo, I've got to think, in a better team, would they be better? And that's something that maybe I need to do more of, is factoring that in. Like, if they've got, I don't know, what's Crespo got here? If they've got progressive passes per 90 of 6.24 instead of 7.74, but they're playing a mid-table team in the Danish league, for example, do have to factor that in, because Crespo does get a lot of options spread out in front of him that a lot of teams won't have. So it's definitely something I'm factoring in as I'm going through a little bit now. Like, I've looked long enough at that. So the other option is that obviously Rikichi, who's with us already, he was bought as a CDM as well. He would go into CDM. We could buy a centre-back, which I've not really looked at yet, because there wasn't much of a gap between us and theirs. I'm still going to look for centre-backs. I'll probably look for them off camera and just use the stats that we've already got for our own players and try and just buy whatever's slightly better than like Badiashile, whoever our top performing centre-back is. We'll probably look at that Gila maybe. So, yeah. Right, let's move on now to wingers and see how we get on. This is going to be a big gap, I think, as well. Let's find out. Who knows? Bayer had a really good season, didn't he? With lots of goals and assists. I'll see you in a second for that. Okay, the problem is they actually played 4 different players in the wings, but also, in particular, Mbappe also played as a striker, so it's quite hard to nail this completely down. But we'll look at this in any case. Mbappe will be on both the striker and the winger roles, I would assume here. Let's compare it to our players anyway. Let's look at the dribbles per 90. Bayer had 4.63. That's quite impressive. And they've got nobody anywhere near that. Now, the problem is we've used winger roles, and winger roles are a little too aggressive runs with the ball. For me, it's annoying because with the winger role, I get them to hold the width like I want them to, but they dribble just too much with the ball. But with inside forward or inverted winger, they don't hold the width like I'd like them to. So I have to either accommodate the tactic to make it different one side, or this is going to be a problem every time. But the two main wingers have both got 4.5 plus dribbles per 90. That's extremely good. But maybe dribbling isn't the best thing for us as a team. Who knows here? Looking at this, probably not. Open play key passes per 90. Mbappe's got 2. There's a 2 there. 1.73 is the lowest. Open play key passes per 90. We've got 2.25, 1.91, and 2.40. Ray's got the most. Ray's actually got even more than their team, which is really impressive. That's actually quite impressive. For them to dribble, they're actually way more creative than their wingers. The only difference is their wingers score way more goals. Looking at Danjuma, Danjuma's only played 14, or started 14 and scored 19. That's pretty good, isn't it? So there's that. I mean, header 1 ratio, we've got 159, then 13 and a 17. They've only really got Soler as well. Like, to me, looking at this, the best wide player in terms of all-round production is Bayer. Of all the other production, if you factor in goals and assists, Mbappe wipes the floor. But I mean, Bayer's only got 2 less assists. He's got a lot less goals. But that's because of the fact that Mbappe's 1 played up front for a bit and 2 plays in a slightly more, I guess, dominant team. Like, he had 21 of Mbappe's goals were from playing striker, not playing on the wing, which is really interesting, actually. So looking at that, Bayer is irreplaceable. And Ray has only had half a season. It'd be interesting to see what stats he could have come up with if he'd have stayed the whole time. Like, if Ray starts 50 matches, does he get the same as Bayer? So we could be okay on the wings. Now, the only problem with that is Adele is going to almost definitely play as a 10 this year, because he played a lot as a 10 towards the back end of the season and was phenomenal there. So we might need to get one or two wingers. But looking at that, that isn't as much of a gap as I thought. The biggest gap that I've seen so far is wing-backs all around and probably goals from these wide players from PSG. That's the big, big difference so far. And that's probably why they don't concede as many, with their wing-backs being better as well. So we're going to keep looking here. I'm actually really pleased with that. And I guess we move on to the strikers now, but that's I'm excited about that. It's not too bad, is it? But no, before we do that, let's actually look for some wingers. Somebody said, how am I searching for wingers? I don't actually have a squad view, but I do have a filter ready to go. And I was basing it off of mainly FM Stag stats that he was giving us. So I just put the wing-back view in, because wing-back view still got dribbles per night, still got cross completion, still got open play key passes, progressive passes. It's still got everything I need to look at from a winger's perspective. And the filter has then got everything that I need, but it's all set to 0. But yeah, I mean, judging on that, if we look at our own players, dribbles per 90, let's go straight to, should we go 3? Because they're players, in fact, let's go 2, because that stops players from winger roles getting inflated, because that's what's happened to us, really. Like, if I'd have set that to 4, we might have missed out on 1 or 2 players that were playing as inside forwards, of course, right? So that's part of the problem. Oblique passes per 90, let's just go 1.5. Progressive passes per 90, we also go 2. Chances, let's get rid of that. Cross completion. Lowest is 16%. Let's just go 10 to get rid of anybody that's absolute disgrace. Header ratio, again, 10% to get rid of anybody who's just not worth their time. Shot on target ratio, I guess we'll just go 10% on that as well. Why not? Conversion rate, I'm just going to get rid of that for now. Now, don't forget, we do have Noni Madueke coming in, who could be a 10 or a winger for us. We're not too sure yet. I'm still not sure how he's going to play for us, but we have got him still coming in as well, of course, who I keep forgetting about, actually. Well, when Huskovic is in the list, you know you've gone too far down already, so that's not great. In fact, I've dropped it to 27, age 27, because I'm not going to spend a load of money on a wide play with pace for like 1 season. So, Ray's top of the list. There you go. That's nice. Like I've always said, this is the toughest position to get for a player in a Moneyball save, because to get anybody with this sort of pace, acceleration, dribbling, creativity, always are worth loads and loads of money, often more money than you can afford. So either you have to buy wingers at a lower level than your team's currently at, or you have to be very, very careful who you select. It's tough. Or play strikers wide as well, things like that, right? So it's not easy. Michel Conti, now he looks pretty good. 19 years old. I mean, Jaws like 2.27, open key passes. That's very good for a younger player. Tackle ratio is not too bad, which shows you could put a challenge in. Looks pretty good. Progressive passes okay. Looks pretty good there across the board. 2 goals and 11 starts. Young, progressive passes. Might be worth the risk, as it were, but we'll shortlist him in any case right now. This youngster Cesar looks pretty good. 23 starts in Brazil. 3.31 dribbles per 90, being a right foot on the left. That's pretty impressive, to be honest. Progressive passes and open key passes per 90 is pretty decent. Good in the air. Looks pretty good to me. We're going to shortlist him. Obviously, non-EU, so it's a bit of a problem. At least I think he is. Has he got any second nationality? The answer is... Oh, the answer is yes. Cesar is part Polish. Oh, he's coming in. We found him. We found the one. Cesar, look at this. Cesar Kozlowski. He's coming in. Wow. What a save that was. Okay. There's a player that I forgot to mention to you when I was looking at number 10s, and I forgot to mention the number 10s because I saw that we were getting Noni Madueke, and I decided that we won't actually need anybody in that position. However, João Sliviero, now, I wouldn't say he's a pivot player because he hasn't quite got some of the defensive stats, but João's point at 1.27 isn't great, but it's more like he could be more like a playmaking role, right, which he isn't going to get too much higher than that because that's what he's being asked to do. But that's pretty good. Tackle ratio is good. Tackles per 90 is okay. Header ratio is good. Open play key passes per 90 is a little low. Progressive passes per 90 is good for a pivot player. I think he could come in and be either a pivot player for us or as the sort of advanced playmaker support, which is a little less breaking into that final sort of into the box and scoring goals and stuff. So João Sliviero could be worth definitely a scout. And again, 7 goals, goal scoring player. So let's have a scout and see what that comes back with from his perspective there. Miguel Rodriguez, 7 goals, which is pretty good. 2.21 dribbles per 90. Progressive pass per 1.5, which isn't great. Play key passes is okay. good finisher by the looks of it, and not great in the air. So we're going to scout him. Be on the short list. Probably not the first choice, but at least he's there. Okay, then, quite an important one here. Let's look at the striker difference between the three players. Boniface is only a real starting striker, 45 starts, compared to Mbappe and Jota, who both played striker for PSG. It was only really ever one of those two. I think their youngster played once against us up front. 37.5 grand a week, and he played 2 matches for them, or 2 starts. That's crazy. That's like our top striker. In fact, what is he on? Boniface is on 14 grand a week, and Boniface played 45 games for us. Now, he's underpaid, but their striker is definitely overpaid. So there we are. Boniface, as we said, has to leave because he's determined to leave at the end of his contract, so we can't let him go on a free. So there we are. Boniface, 45 games, 38 goals. Have a look then at non-penalty XG per 90. So 0.66. That's actually higher than both of the two players there. XG performance was 9.87. Theirs was 3.95, 2.05. That's just crazy, by the way. Minutes per goal, 90. I can't believe we're losing Boniface. Like, that's just... that you can't buy that. We're not going to buy 90 minutes per goal, I don't think. Conversion ratio, Boniface has 28%. That's better than both of them. Shots to target ratio, 55%. That's better than both of them. Shots per 90, he gets 2, which is a little bit less than Mbappe gets. Oh, no, sorry, it's that one. Shots per 90 there. Shots on target per 90. Not shots per 90. That one is shots on target per 90. Okay. So he actually gets less shots and gets only marginally less shots on target. Offside, he's got 40 times. There's dribbles per 90, 3.44. 1.44, 0.82 for us. Doesn't have to dribble too much. So that's interesting. So to be a striker that scores in our team, that we know with our tactic, you don't have to have much dribbles per 90 because a lot of the play is built around you and then you're played through on goal, or it's whipped across the face of goal by like a wide player cutting it back because they're wingers, right? So they go byline, they whip it across, that kind of stuff. That's interesting. So we don't need a dribbler. We need somebody who is, well, let's look anyway. Let's continue looking at this. So we don't need that. Do we need somebody that can head the ball? Header 1 ratio, 33%. Not massively, but we'd say probably that's the minimum then. We don't want anything less than Boniface if we can avoid it. If we can have somebody who doesn't dribble, then they have to be good, minimum 33% header 1 ratio, which, of course, headers would change recently in FM, in the updates, and how some of them are slightly calculated. You're going to notice some differences in the header stats. So that might seem low, but that's not actually that bad for a striker with the way things currently are. So let's have a quick look at strikers. Enzo stands out to me like a sore thumb here because minutes per goal. I said we wouldn't be able to buy anybody like Boniface. However, right now when he's 19, he's worth 21, 25 million. That's a lot of money, right? It's a lot of money. But if we wait 1 year to sign this guy, to try and sign him, I think he's going to be worth like 70 million. He's going to be like a proper wonder kid. He's got 12 goals and 6 starts, 28 sub appearances. His extra performance is 6.21. He's about the closest thing I can see to Boniface that's going to be on this list already. He looks incredibly close in so many of these stats. I think we need to go for him. Enzo has to be the one, and we have to hope that we get a lot of money for Boniface to make sure we can afford him. We'll continue down the list, but I think that's going to be the best value for money that we're going to get, to be honest. Okay, I've looked through all the strikers now as well. We've got a couple of players in there to look at. Didn't really need to show you, I think, too many, because we know the ones we're going to try for at the very least at the start. Right, I'm going to look for a couple of centre-backs now off camera, maybe the odd goalkeeper, just to see what's out there. Going to offer some players out for transfer to see what money we can get in, and you'll join me back in, well, I guess, sort of like middle of June, and we'll see what we've been able to do early on in terms of players out, and if there's anybody that we can get in. I mean, Dylan Chevalier, do I want to sell him and take the money? He's improving a lot. Yeah, Dylan Chevalier is the one I'm not too sure about. Look at the valuation. He looks like he could be so good, and it's just so hard to know. Like, the fact that they've rated him already up to this, I think he could be a great player. His valuation's gone up a lot. Do you cash in? Do you cash in is the question. I mean, you could look at his stats, compare him to the first choice wing back, of course. Jaws per 90, he's got more than Merlin. Cross-coach is much lower. Oblique passes is a bit lower. Progressive pass is pretty close. Tackling ratio goes to him, and he's slightly worse in the air. So overall, looks like he's slightly further behind, but he's only 17 years old. So, like, there is that, of course. And if you compare it to the FM Stag stats for a fullback, which is a wing back actually, he's not too far off. That's a hard one. But we'll see for the other positions anyway. Okay, I'll see you then in a few weeks, and let's see what we managed to do with the transfers. Okay, I thought I'd bring in one thing. This lad here, Dragan Dimitrovic, I actually saw him as a winger for his dribbles per 90 and loads of other good stats that he had, and he's won not only Player of the Season in the Serbian Super League, but the Young Player of the Season as well. So that could be a really good signing. So we should hopefully get him for a couple of £1 million here, but he could be a really good player. As you can see there in the league, 3.75 dribbles per 90 in the league, 4.06 in the cup. Looking pretty good, so he could be a little wonder kid for us just there. Okay, let's go through some transfers made so far then. It's been a pretty busy transfer window, and I think we've done a pretty good job, but let's see what everybody else thinks of that. We've signed Marcus Willersgaard to be our right back for, I think it was 2.5 million, was it? 2.8 million. He looked pretty good. As we were trying to negotiate with him, I think Borussia Dortmund tried to come in the last second, so he's a pretty decent player, but not according to the scout, so they think he's not very good. I'm probably going to bring in somebody else anyway to be like competing with him, but I think he could be a really good player. He scored good on his stats. He's been in the first team in Norway for a couple of years. In fact, it may have been 3 or 4, so he's been a good player. Well, 3 years now, I think. Because he would have had more starts than that, but we took him off the team before their season had ended, of course. So we'll see how he gets on. Low average ratings, but had good stats everywhere else. So not quite sure what role he was playing, but it wasn't working out very well for him there. Enzo Piscicelli, I think so you're going to pronounce this. He looks like he's going to be a very good player. We've signed him for £18.5 million. He's worth 59 to 70 million pounds. Media description is wonder kid. That could be the best signing we've done. All save. He looks like he could be incredible. If he can grow like an inch, become 6'1", become good in the air, he could be like our all-round player. Now, if he became 6'1" and got good in the air as well, he could almost become like a regen of Immobile, which would be quite good for us if he was that profile of player, of course. So looking really good. Good amount of money for us to spend on a player. Hopefully our striker for many, many years to come. I've already shown you this guy, but Dragan Dimitrovic, he looks incredible. Again, description is wonder kid. Value 51 to 63 million pounds. That's incredible. But the best part is we paid 7.5 million pounds all up front. So if we ever sell him, it's going to be like a complete profit for us. That's incredible. What a player he could be. I wasn't necessarily looking for another winger, but when he came up, I felt like we had to make a move on him. Apparently, he can play right back as well, which we may need one of these. So who knows? But not really signed to play right back. He's signed to play on the wing, and hopefully he's going to be good. It looks like the scouts and the coaches all agree he's going to be good. So there you are, good stuff. We've signed the goalkeeper Georgi Mamadashvili. Now, 99 grand a week is a lot in wages, more than a lot of the players we've bought so far in terms of their wages. However, he's a brilliant goalkeeper, scored, I think, quite similar to Andrew on his stats, actually, which is why I bought him. But the big difference between him and Andrew is he's not classed as non-EU, which we really do need a bit of that going on in our squad registration. So we needed that. That was the only reason why. I liked Andrew. I thought he was a brilliant goalkeeper, but I was struggling, really. And you're going to see in a second with the squad, I've had to move it around a little bit just because of this non-EU issue with only having 4 players. So it's unfortunate. I thought Andrew would be a really cost-effective goalkeeper for us for a number of years, but that's the way that it's gone, and I had to do it. And I didn't want to get I don't want to take a chance on a goalkeeper. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just couldn't see myself doing that. So Georgie came up. I actually originally turned him down because he wanted 140 grand a week, but he rejected. I think it was Chelsea, and then we're able to offer him a contract that he accepted with us. So it's all good. In terms of players out, you can see here that Boniface has gone for 20 million, DeCosta's gone up for 9, Andrew's gone up for 6, rising to 7.5, Merlin 4.5, and there's also a few more to come in. Obviously, we've still got Kontasama Dueke to come in, and that's already confirmed. Those are free transfers. Got a few more offers out here. Basically, I'm looking to still bring in a left back, still bring in a right back, and a centre back. And if I can do all of that, maybe even a CDM as well, that's what I'm trying to get towards. If I can stretch it that far, that's what I'm trying to do. Players still to leave. Osei Samuel leaves for 1.1 million. Matzo leaves for 500 grand. And Huskovic leaves for 12 million pounds. That is your current what's about to come sort of situation there. I mean, the squad's looking good. As of right this second, I'm planning to use Vazquez as my 3rd or 4th centre-back, but he is non-EU. If I can get those positions that I've said, but I need like an extra few £1 million, I might just sell him. I know he's a really good centre-back. I know he's going to be a great one, but the non-EU factor and the fact we could get £20 million for him potentially right now, that might be the turning point for us, but we'll see. I still haven't decided yet. I don't want to get rid of him, really. Like, he's already been here for a year. You know, like he's on course to being club homegrown for us. Do you know what I mean? That's a big thing. So, yeah. But yeah, let's see what happens. I'll see you then in a few weeks when all these transfers are confirmed, and we see how many of these other players we can actually get in. And I'll see you around I guess the end of July, maybe first week of August. I'll see you then. Okay, so I showed you the players on the screen here that we managed to bring in up to this point. Let's go and see who else we managed to bring in at the end of the transfer window. I'm excited about this team, but I've been there before. Miguel Gutierrez does come in for £5.75 million, a steady left back, probably similar, I would say, to Merlin. But Dylan Chevalier may get some minutes this season. And really, Miguel Gutierrez is there to basically be a starting left back early on. But if it turns out, again, we're going to be too far from PSG to win the title, that kind of stuff, Dylan's going to go first choice. So we'll just see what we can get from Dylan. Does he become a first choice left back for us? Does he get, just to be like a really expensive young player that we can just sell for a profit? Let's find out. Let's find out what we have in Dylan. But for now, Miguel goes in. I'll probably start the season as a starting left back, but will more than likely be dropping out at some point for us there. Michel Gotti comes in. He could be a 10, he could be a wide player. We are not too sure what he's really going to be. Wonder Kid description. Got a lot of Wonder Kid descriptions here, which is quite rare really for a Moneyball save. You don't normally get the Wonder Kids. We got them for good prices, 8.75 million. There might be a kickback on his one. I don't think anybody's on 50% of the next sale. Some are on like 25s, 20s, so there might be 35. But there's also lots that have got nothing on them as well. So it's a mix, like a Dragon's one. His had no kickbacks. There was nothing on his at all. But I think Conti's got a couple. But anyway, really good price, worth a lot of money, good player potentially. Madueke comes in on his free transfer. That is a great signing, isn't it, for a free transfer? Not quite sure he's going to play yet, but on a free transfer, who cares? Conceição free transfer, again, could play as a 10, could play wide. Could he play as a left back in emergency, maybe? Not too sure, but free transfer again, not a bad bit of business at all. Marco Bertini comes in. Now, I looked at it long and hard, and I thought, okay, I'd like to improve Crespo, but there was no value for money anywhere. So the only thing I could think of doing is in the first team this year, we're going to play Rikichi as the starting level pivot and play other centre-backs behind him. And if there's injuries to centre-back, then Crespo can come in. So that's what I think I'm going to start to do this season, but we'll see how that plays out as we go forwards. Simon Wald, now he comes in for a pretty pricey £4.5 million. I'm not sure he's worth that, but he comes in solid defensive right back, which is what we need. More defensive, at least first, can go forward to the attacking stuff. Secondary to that, and we'll just be in rotation with our youngster that we brought in from Norway, and they'll compete for the first choice position. Not a great sign-in. Probably should have prioritised it a little more at right back, but we've also got Dragon, the right winger, who could play right back in an emergency, and if we need to, we might have to just move him there long term to make sure he's getting minutes, because, yeah, a little bit disappointed with right back recruitment, but I suppose we don't know yet till they play, of course. And last but not least, Cesar. Cesar is the Brazilian winger/striker who is part Polish, so he doesn't class as a non-EU player, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing him play for us going into the season. Yeah, looks like he could be a good player. We could have overpaid for him a little, considering that his valuation is only there after spending 11.25, whereas everybody else who spent like 8 or 9, and they're worth like 50. So there's a chance that we overspent on him, but he's not a non-EU player, and it was paid for all up front. So if we sell him, we get 100% of the money back. So I don't think we'll lose much. So I don't think we'll lose too much money on him if we did have to sell him. I think we get roughly the money back. But so that's the worst case scenario. Scouts and coaches don't seem to rate him too much, but we need a backup striker and slash winger really, because we've got Pisicelli, but yeah, backup striker. I'm not really sure who would go in there really. Could be Bayer, could be Ray, could be Cesar. I'm not actually sure which one, but there you are. I did get a transfer for Adele from Newcastle. It was like 20 odd million up front, going up to like 29. I did accept it just to see how much of that I would get in transfer budget money to spend, and it was only like 5 million, so I couldn't replace him this year, but yeah, he's wanted, but I didn't want to sell Adele. I know he's going to be a really good player this season, and he'll be consistent, and he'll be good, at least I think so. So I didn't really want to sell him anyway, so he stays. And the last bit of news to bring you, very, very last bit, there's another ball takeover coming. Would you believe it? Would you believe it? Another ball takeover potentially coming in. There's been talks apparently, so there you are. So our 4 centre-backs are going to be these 3 and Rikichi there. And depending on the game, it could be that Rikichi plays centre-back. He could easily do so. Or we could play two of the other 3, play him CDM and go from there, with Bertini being the spare player, really. You've got your 2 left-backs there. And then you've got your 2 right-backs there, along with our 10s and wingers all here. So for some of these players, it doesn't actually matter whether we class them as a 10 or as a winger. They're going to probably play in both roles anyway. So in terms of looking at just how many attacking players do we have, 2 for each position. There's 4 left wing, right wing, left cam, right cam. So 8 positions in total. How many players have we got? We've got 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That looks really, really strong. I'm classing Cesar as a striker, in quotes, for now, just in terms of the squad. Piscicelli as well, being the main striker. So that's your squad. We've actually got 2 players for every position this time, which is a good start. And it still costs us a lot of money. I think the finances don't look great, but that's not including the Champions League money. So really, we're going to break even this year. Okay, so your first team, at least for the start of the season, is going to be... It's going to be Georgie in goal with Gutierrez, Badiashile, Gila, and Waldi across the back. Olcan, Conti, and Adela's like the 3 with Bayre wide and Piscicelli up front. Your hands did nothing wrong last season, but I almost want to give Conti the chance to start. But there's Madueke as well. Madueke, I'm pretty sure... Oh, do you know what? I don't know. I also want to play Dragon. I've actually got too many players here that I want to play. I don't know which order to play them in, really. But we're going to go with this first, see how it gets on. The reason I want to leave Johansson out is because he's actually on a massive wage, and I wouldn't mind selling him next season if needed, and I can use these youngsters and carry them through. It's got 52 caps already. I mean, I don't know who to play. We'll go with this anyway. Why not? First game against PSG. Let's see what we can do. Come on, Paris FC. Let's beat them. It's a chance to win the first bloody trophy in the series. It's against our biggest rivals. Can we do it? I mean, I'm sure most of you listening to this just said no out loud, but no, we're going to do it. I have full confidence in the team. We got this. By the way, I forgot, assistant manager says, by the way, nobody expects us to get a result, okay. But what did PSG do, I hear you asking? PSG signed my favourite player in FM. They signed Jamal Musiala. So that's really bad news for us. Like, really, really bad news for us. I'm actually devastated about that. And they signed Carl Palmer for £34.5 million. Not as devastated about that, you know. But Jamal Musiala, I am. And that's what they've done so far. Who retired? Was it Neymar? No, it wasn't Neymar, was it? Somebody did. I can't remember. But their team hasn't really improved except for that. But that is a big improvement. So, here we go. Come on, Paris FC. Ray with the corner. It's headed away. Gutierrez. Gutierrez goes and plays with Badiashile. Badiashile. I'm not getting too excited in this game because we were 2-0 up last time against them. And still managed to lose the game. Conti goes through, plays it across goal. Oh, what's he done? Oh, Conti, come on. I started you ahead of Johansson. Now you let me down already. Come on. Come on. Let's not do this. Piscelli goes across. I'm going to have to give some nicknames out to these players, and it's not a pronunciation that's difficult for some of these names. It's saying them quickly in like a commentary style, as it were. That's going to be the problem. As Musiala links up with Hakimi, that's not good. Here we go. First highlight for PSG. It's going to be cleared. Bayer gets to it. The right winger role is the one that seems to score the goals, but I can't really take Bayer out of that until he stops doing in the business, really. He was so good last year as they go through, and wow, there you are. Right on cue. Juan Musiala makes it 1-0 to PSG. Devastating. Corner PSG, Mbappe. Far post headed away. Bayer's not going to get to this for some reason. I don't know how he didn't get to that, really. They build their attack. Are we going to get to this? The answer is no. They go behind. Jota's got to be offside, but Mbappe, on Musiala, so it wasn't. That was a bad miss, really. Okay, they've got in behind to Mbappe. We sort of survived the first chance, and... Right, Georgie, I just want you to know, mate, I don't know if you looked in the mirror recently, but you are 6'6". You know what I mean? You're 6'6" tall. Just go and collect it, mate, like a basketball player. Just go and collect it. Little bloody midfielders beating you to the ball. Coming towards half time, Bayer has it, gives it away like multiple times. I don't know how he's on a 7.0, to be honest. Every highlight is him giving the ball away. Hakimi goes wide, gets tackled, they play it back inside. Ray's won it, good lad, Ray. Can you release it to somebody else? Badiashile plays it across to Bayer, loses that. What are you doing? Wake up, lads. Oh my goodness me. Here we go then. Olcan, Piscicelli gives it away. This is really poor from us. I'm really worried about this. Like, I think this squad is a step forwards long term. Like, Piscicelli at striker. We've got a new centre-back coming through from the B team now in the Vasquez. We've got Conti. We've got Dragovic. We've got Dragon on the bench. Like, we've just got so many good young players, but we can't be a better team this season. This is a disgrace. This is really bad. PSG's highlight, they give it away, but they take it straight back off us, though, because we are absolute shite, basically. In behind, Mbappe gets it. Right back's a problem straight away, by the looks of it. We have been so bad, it's not even funny. It is so bad. Like, I don't understand why they're so bad on the ball. Like, they are absolutely woeful. My goodness me. Madueke goes down the wide right-hand side. Cuts back, plays it to the right winger. Good goal from Adele, the only player that can play well in this team. And it's 4-1. And they have it finished actually 4-2 in the end. We scored a second goal. I just couldn't even bring myself to talk over it, to be honest. It was so poor. Adele scored it, so he got himself 2 goals. That's what I wanted to keep him. He's so consistent. Despite the, wow, I mean, very fitting name for the kind of performance we put in there. It was Wankdorf. We're going to play one more game in the episode. We're going to play against Lille away from home, which, I mean, it's away from home. It's against a half-decent side in the league. Who knows what's going to happen, but that was really worrying. Really worrying. Johansson's back in. And, do we play the youngster? I'm not sure if we do, you know. Yeah, lots of things to think about to try and get the best players into the team, but I'll see you in a few days anyway for the Lille game. Okay, we go then. Lille away. The whole team's changed around. The one bit of good news is PSG did drop points in the first game of the season, so there's always a chance. So you're telling me there's a chance. Assistant manager says, got them impressed me, okay. I don't want to change a tactic when it went so close last year. Not so close, but we took a big step forwards, right? I want to see us build on last year's performance using the same tactic. So I don't want to change it if I can avoid it. And to get the best players into it, I need him to play right back, really. I think is the only way I can really get him in without having to drop Bayer, for example, right? Johansson with the corner. Gila heads it towards goal. It's 1-0 to Paris FC. We get a set-piece goal. Well done, Johansson. Welcome back to the team, mate. Sorry for dropping you, to be honest. The youngsters weren't quite ready for the PSG performance and match, I guess. Late highlight right before half-time. They go in behind. Our new right back gets there first. Plays it to Gutierrez into Gila. Johansson into Ray. Ray into the striker. This is brilliant football. Ray goes on the left-hand side. He's a bit more of a creator more than Mbappe, like a scorer, which is not what I thought Ray was going to be. But he's still a great player, just not the kind of player that I thought he was going to be for us. Early highlight for them, potentially. They're going behind. Vasquez gets there easily. It does say not only is he quick for centre-back, that he's got good anticipation, which is interesting. Our striker won a header for once, which is nice to see as well. They're going to play out from the back with their 2 English centre-backs in Rob Holding and Harry Maguire. They're going to try it again. They nearly gave it away. Now they are going to give away, surely. Come on, lads. Got to win this. Maguire, what is he doing? Thank you, Maguire. Cheers, mate. Ray's got it. Plays it back to Gia. Gila plays it to Vasquez, into Okan, into Adele. Great football. Adele goes through, scores. Adele, that's all he does, he just scores. He's like a... What is he, really? I'm trying to think of a real-life player that he reminds me of. He plays that sort of De Bruyne role, but he's more of a goal scorer than De Bruyne. He's less of a creator, more of a goal scorer. He just scores goals in that sort of number 10 offset, like number 8, number 10 position. He's really, really good. Madueke plays it back to Vasquez, travels with it, plays it across to Ray. I didn't want to take off Ray while he's on a bad match rate, and just like that'd be 2 in a row. If I can avoid doing that with some players as well. If they score, though, it doesn't matter. Good save keeps. Those are the little margins that we need. Well, that should have been a goal, really. But he's so tall, he just picks it up anyway. Highlight starts pretty high up the pitch for them here. Vasquez, though, gets it, play out from the back to right-hand side. Got double inverted wing-backs. That is a disgusting tackle. Fair play. Round of applause. That was good, to be fair. I do respect that. Makuta, I respect that all day, son. I do like that. But unfortunately for you, that's cost you the game. Okay, last second in the game. Dragon throws into Conceição. Goes back to Vasquez. Crespo, Johansson. Doesn't quite get there. Says, Johansson goes round a ply, gets fouled. They clear it away. We're going to get to this, I think, easily. Goalkeeper, love it. It's Crespo, Vasquez into Dragon, who's on the yellow cards. Vasquez. Across to Guido. He's got options here. These on a vertical line, don't like that. Gutierrez goes wide, retains it well. This is good. Good, killing the game, boys. Well done. Fantastic stuff. This is brilliant. It's going to be a goal, isn't it, after this? Is it going to be a goal? No, mind the goal. No, there's a minute left. Yeah, could be a goal. Could be a goal. Crespo. Madueke, is he onside? I think he is. It's 3. 2 poor finishes, but we'll take it. 3-0 win. And we'll start the season on a very, very good position, to be honest. So, a positive end to proceedings. It was a really good transfer window, I thought. A really good long-term transfer window. It always feels like sometimes when you're doing Moneyball and trying to catch a team that you're always that sort of year behind, because sometimes you have to buy players that you know may not be ready to compete right this second, but you know will be good next year because they've got good stats, but they're young and they need to really prove themselves over more years. And you've got to go off like a 1-season sample size, right? You've got to take those chances. So it's more risky at this point for us. However, I think long-term we're in a really good position here. And best of all, we are top of the league. So we go 2 points of PSG into the end of the episode. which is really, really good. However, this is huge. Really, really huge. We have got PSG early in the season at home. Now, if we're going to win the league, a few things need to happen. One, we need to beat them at home. We have to, because we're going to lose away, or it's likely we'll lose away. That offsets the results against each other. Then it's just us and them against AI teams. And we've already won one tough away game there. I know it's the first game of the season, but we have. And then by the time we play PSG, we'll have already played Bordeaux away. Then we play Monaco away not too long after that. Marseille, not too long after that, we play them away. So if we can go into the away game, even just 3 points ahead, so they beat us and it goes level, we've got a chance. And we also need them to drop points every now and again. And they have already. So who knows? I think they did this last year or the year before. They dropped points the first game or two of the season, then won the next 20 in a row. So it doesn't mean anything at all. But we can only go off what we've seen. That's 3 points for us. That's 1 for them. They're on the decline. They're finished. They're a finished club. They did get to the Champions League final last year, but they did lose it yet again to Napoli. But yeah, that's going to conclude the episode. So next episode is going to be PSG, Dijon, and Le Havre as a triple episode. I might skip Le Havre and play Monaco instead. Yeah, it could be something like that, to be fair. I'm not going to come back any earlier than the PSG game, but we'll come back for the PSG game, of course. That is going to do the episode. A mammoth episode there. I don't know how long this video is. It's going to be quite long, I think. A lot of transfers, a lot of very, very good transfers. We're in a good position. We're in a good financial position. When the Champions League money comes in, it'll be fine. We'll be breaking even yet again. I don't see the point in us breaking even, though, because every time we break even, those owners sell the club to somebody else anyway. So it's like, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? But anyway, that's going to do it. Moneyball versus Moneybags is getting much, much closer between Paris FC and PSG. I think this year is going to be the year we're going to push them close to the title. I'm not sure if we're going to win it. I think we're going to push them close. And I'd like to say this is going to be the year that we win a trophy. But obviously we can't control that because that involves knockout games. And we don't always win those games. So who knows? But the league title, I'm really focusing on that we can push them as close as we possibly can. We've got the team to do it. We've just about got the squad to do it, with the exception of right back maybe. And I'm ready for it. I hope you are too. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.